Well, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the July 2024 PowerShell Community Call, where everyone is welcome to join and discuss the PowerShell project and its development. Hey, we've got our agenda posted in the meeting chat and a link to the meeting discussion. Please feel free to post your questions in the discussion issue or, hey, right here in the meeting chat. We'll get them either way. And please follow the code of conduct. Now, before we get started this morning, I've got three announcements, three summer announcements. First of all, happy summer. Starting today and for the next 3 months, I'd say through September, we're going to go to summer hours on the community call, which means the call will be about 30 minutes in length. Folks are in and out on vacation. You're in and out on vacation, enjoying all this sunshine. So I think we did this similarly last year as well. But hey, no panicking here. We still have plenty of things to talk about, and we're trying to make sure that at the end of the call, we've got about 5-10 minutes or so that we can still do community demos. Speaking of which, on the community demos, that's really my second kind of announcement. We are so very appreciative to everyone that has done demos that you've been bringing to the community call. We really, really enjoy that a lot. So we'd like to encourage everybody to continue to do that and bring fun new things for everybody to check out. And it can be anything. It can be anything from, your day job that you're working on or that you did, a neat solution that you came up with. It doesn't have to be something stellar and spectacular. Well, it is stellar and spectacular. It's a solution you came up with. So that's why we encourage everybody to go ahead and bring a demo to the call. The one thing that we do ask, though, to help us plan for the call is please add your name and the demo that you'd like to do to the discussions before the day of the call. We'll go through and give you a thumbs up if we've got you scheduled for the call, and you'll see yourself appear in the agenda. So thank you so much for that. My third and last announcement, and then we'll get to the actual agenda, is I don't know if you folks are planning on attending Tech Mentor next month. It's in a couple of weeks here in Redmond on the Microsoft campus. But if you are looking at attending Tech Mentor, which is a great IT-focused conference, well, we'll be there too. So we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks and joining us for what we expect to have is a great time for several sessions from the PowerShell team, plus so many other great sessions at Tech Mentor. So we look forward to seeing you if you're going to be there. And with that, I think we're all set to start our actual agenda. And I see Sydney already here. So Sydney, would you like to chat about the community PR update?
I would love to. However, my good friend Steven is actually the one who went ahead and pulled the numbers on how we've been doing for PRs. So I'm going to pass it over to him, and he's going to give us a little update on how we've been doing in regards to merging community PRs, closing them, that sort of thing.
Thanks, Cindy. So I wasn't at the last couple community calls, but I heard there was some interest in kind of understanding how the community days are going. And if you aren't familiar, we on the PowerShell team love to spend every Monday focused on community work, as this means reviewing issues, reviewing PRs. This is kind of our time of the week to really hone in and focus in that area. And so we prioritize PRs a lot since people have put in their own time to make these PRs. We want to show appreciation for that. And so we have been making good progress on kind of PR. I don't want to say burn down, but PR reviews. It's really tricky to say burn down because some PRs can take much longer to review because of the different implications, because of the different potentially breaking changes, just because of the kind of impacts and I guess impact that it can an adverse review can make. So we really like to take our time and make sure that the PRs that the working groups review and our team reviews are up to a really high standard. So it's kind of hard to say one number or another. Let me pull it up. But since the beginning of 2024, there's been approximately 113 community PRs created since January of this year, and we've closed 72 of them. So do the math in percentage, but I'd say that's a pretty good number.
Closed or merged?
We don't have that. I'm pretty sure they're merged. Most of them are merged. So
Not mine.
Okay, well, we can take a look at that offline. Feel free to message which one you're looking at. I mean, like I said, we do like to take you know a good look at the PR. So feel free to show that. Okay, cool. Anyways, so this is just for the PowerShell repo, but yeah, wanted to kind of share that. But anywho, I
Awesome.
think that's kind of all we got on that agenda.
Well,
Yeah, and
awesome.
I think
Well,
I just want to emphasize one thing that Stephen was kind of saying alongside all of this, and that is that PowerShell are really our emphasis with these community or with reviews and everything is really the stability of PowerShell. We've shown telemetry numbers before, and with PowerShell 7, we see a large number. I think we've hit over 2 billion, monthly sessions with just the latest version of PowerShell. And so we really want quality when it comes to these PR reviews. I'm not saying, we don't want to get through as many as we can, but taking our time with these reviews is so important. So we do appreciate all the community contributions and feedback and all that sort of thing. But yeah, it can take time to get through PR reviews as well. That's all. Thanks, Jason.
well, that's awesome. Well, to kind of switch topics a little bit, and I'm going to go right back to you, Stephen, is so several of the PMs and engineers were at PSConf EU, and I didn't get a chance to attend this year, but I heard that it was like spectacular. And so I'm dying to hear more about PSConf EU. So Stephen, you want to chat with us about the goings on around that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were very fortunate to attend PSConf EU this year. It was held, I guess, middle of June. We had myself, Damian Caro, Steve Lee, Amber Erickson, Arnav, Mutamwa, Alex. We had a lot of folks from the trying to go through all the names but we had 4 people from the core PowerShell team as well as some folks from other partner teams at Microsoft, including Demetrius from Winget, and Arnav and Mutamwa from Arc and machine configuration respectively. And Alex Wang from the Azure PowerShell team was able to join us as well, which was really exciting. And so we had a great time chatting with folks, meeting new folks, seeing familiar faces in the PowerShell community. All the presentations and stuff are actually already uploaded to YouTube. They were extremely fast on the turnaround time for the sessions recordings and then publishing them on YouTube. So I highly encourage people to check out the PSConf EU YouTube channel to check out all the sessions that we presented on, as well as all the amazing sessions the community is presented on. There's some really, really awesome ones out there. And so we should just wanted to call that out. And I'm trying to think if anyone else was at PSConf EU and wants to add anything, feel free to interrupt me here, but I can post stuff. The other call out is that the PSConf EU team is doing a mini conf, a virtual conference. They've done this the last couple of years, which is kind of a virtual, gather online formatted one. This is in October of this year. Oh, thank you, Alexander. Yeah, you were for posting the link to the recordings. But yeah, there's a lot of amazing content out there, so I highly recommend checking out some of that stuff. We shared some stuff around some of the AI and shell investments that we've done, some of the updates to the Azure client tools, some updates to the machine configuration. Steve presented, had a good session on DSCV3, and Amber as well on PS Resource Get. So definitely check those out if any of those subjects are of interest to you. And the one other thing about PSConf EU is every year we hold a AMA, or an Ask Me Anything kind of session with the PowerShell team. And we took questions online and kind of in person there. And so there were so many questions that we couldn't get to all of them at the conference. And so we wanted to take a little time today to cover some of the bigger ones, bigger questions we got from that conference. So hopefully that if you were at the conference and didn't get your question answered, we can answer it here today, as well as these are just some FAQs that we got from the conference. So give me a minute to pull up the sheet. But one great question, I think this is actually quite relevant given the MVP renewals, was someone asked us kind of what's a good path forward to become a PowerShell MVP? And this is something we don't talk about too often in the community call, so I figured it's a good time to highlight that a little bit. Sydney actually is the one working primarily on the MVP program, so maybe you can share some thoughts with us.
Yeah, so if you aren't familiar with the MVP award, it's Microsoft's value professional program. And it's an award that Microsoft gives out to folks in the community who have high technical, have displayed high technical ability, and also sort of like community outreach and share with other folks in the community. So there's a number of different types of contributions that you can have that really can come together to put together an MVP profile that you'll submit. You'll get nominated and then submit, and then it'll be reviewed by a number of people to kind of get the MVP award. Given that PowerShell is a community and it's open source, there's a number of different ways you can sort of start to build that community around you that makes you really great for an MVP submission. So I would say, like, if you're looking to sort of build towards MVP, it's really great to get involved in the PowerShell community. So some ways you could start doing that would be getting involved in open source, whether that's the team's open source. I would say that would probably be the best thing to do because it builds familiarity with folks at Microsoft. So that could be, you know, not only opening issues, but also getting in our repos and responding to other folks' issues, getting involved in conversations and discussions on GitHub. Of course, always following our code of conduct. That's going to be really important in, you know, representing yourself well. But yeah, getting involved in open source, whether it's PRs, but also reviewing other people's PRs and responding to other people's issues and that sort of thing. Building out content around PowerShell for other folks. So that could be presenting at conferences, running conferences, presenting at our community call, creating content like video content on YouTube, or maybe blogging, whatever content looks like to you, whatever medium you really enjoy. Just building out content, teaching people about PowerShell, teaching people about what you're passionate about, whatever technology-wise that is, relating to what we're working on and what we're releasing is really what's going to build you that reputation as a MVP. Yeah, so speaking at conferences, especially PowerShell Summit and PSConf EU. And if you're looking to like build towards that, you want more experience speaking, great ways to get started with that would be user groups, again, demoing at our community call and just practicing speaking at other conferences, that sort of thing. There's a lot of different ways to get started. And if you are like, hey, I really want to get more involved in the community, but I don't know how, I would recommend starting with the community Discord, or reaching out to anyone in the community, or really anyone on the PowerShell team, and we can probably find a place for you to start working. But yeah, user groups are great. Oh, the other thing I would mention too is if you're kind of doing these things, if you're getting active on GitHub, you're finding a good space with responding to issues, building comfort there. Getting involved in working groups would be another great step towards the MVP award. So those are just some ideas to kind of get involved. But I think the biggest thing is just showing that you have competence in PowerShell, that you're comfortable speaking about PowerShell, whether that's to the community, to the team, and that you're comfortable giving feedback to folks in a really respectful way would be all things that we look for in the MVP award. So yeah.
Awesome. The only thing I'd add to that is I just want to take a moment, and there are several MVPs and former MVPs that are online on this call, and I just want to thank everyone for your amazing contributions over the years. And this extends beyond the MVP community. This extends to all of you. Your contributions and the fact that you're helping folks is what matters the most. So thank you very much for your contributions. Stephen, what else did you have?
Yeah, so I'm trying to group some of these questions kind of together because a lot of them kind of are in the same vein. We had a couple questions around PS resource get, around, you know, how long will the compatibility layer between PowerShell Get v2 and PS resource get be available for, as well as does it work on Windows PowerShell 5.1? And I think that's kind of the main question. I don't know if you can take them real quick, Sydney.
Yeah, so those are good questions. So the first question was that'll take is does PS resource get work on PowerShell 5.1? Answer is yes, absolutely, backwards compatible to PowerShell, Windows PowerShell 5.1. A question that I'll just answer because we usually get it. The next question is like, so is it going to ship in Windows? The answer is I would love it to. Shipping things in Windows is hard. Takes a long time. We've started the conversation, started down that path, but I don't know when that could happen. The second question was around the compatibility layer. And so if you aren't familiar, there's a compatibility layer that goes alongside PS resource get that allows you to use PowerShell get syntax with the PS resource get sort of backend. And the question is, how long will we continue to ship the compatibility layer in PowerShell 7 versions? And the answer isn't so clear cut because we'll be looking at sort of like numbers and telemetry around usage and burn down to see how many folks have moved over to the newer versions of PS resource get and are like off the syntax. My feeling is that it might take a really long time or it might never happen that folks move over and that might be okay. But I don't imagine that happening anytime soon, that we would get rid of the compatibility layer.
Cool. Another kind of common question we got was around DSC v3. So maybe Michael or Steve could pipe in about this one, but we got one question around, will DSC v3 become a first-class citizen also on-prem or on dark sites? And then will there be any tool will there be any creation of a tool on top of DSC similar to that of Chef/Puppet? And I know that's a little bit more meta, but maybe you guys.
That's fine. So the goal of DCV3 is to be everywhere. We're still very kind of early stage. I did mention at PSConf.eu that we're targeting hitting GA probably towards this fall, late fall maybe. So we'll see if we can hit that. And of course, after that, we'll have 3.1, 3.2, whatever the case may be. It will be ongoing. Now, as far as higher level tooling, you know, we are partnering with Azure Machine Config as kind of like our preferred higher level orchestration across cloud and on-prem. You can use on-prem via Azure Arc. So that's kind of where that is. But some of the designs that we have in V3 as compared to V2 from learnings should make it easier for anyone like Puppet, Chef, Ansible to integrate with V3 versus what they had to do with V2. So we're hoping those partners also come along.
Cool.
Is that it?
Yeah, I think that was kind of it. Just wanted to cover that. Let's see, what other questions we got? Oh, so we had a couple questions around you know, people love PowerShell. However, PowerShell could also be quite resource heavy than other languages. Is there any plans to update the core and reduce the overhead with PowerShell?
So here's what I'd say. There's no immediate plan, especially in 7.5. I think performance, both in terms of resource consumption and also just throughput, is always on top of mind. We are starting some conversations with some folks internal to see if there's some low-hanging fruit, if you will, or just easy wins. But again, it's going to be more of a journey than anything at this moment in time. Well, I think, okay, so here's one thing I'll mention, because I think I got some of these questions at PSConf.eu from individuals. Some people aren't fully aware, you know, because you're built on top of .NET or .NET Framework. PowerShell itself is kind of how does it best put this? Is limited and may not be the right word, but is kind of bound by the garbage collection rules in .NET. So sometimes you may see high memory usage, and that's just the fact of the garbage collector. If you look online, there are ways within PowerShell to kind of force it to happen. But this is just the nature of having a managed language. But there are certainly areas within PowerShell where we can probably try to have less allocations and stuff like that. And some of those changes are happening through the community over time.
And then I'll take there was a couple various questions around different modules. One was, when can we get YAML support, convert to and convert from YAML? And I think the answer, I think there's a lot of good community modules out there, and I can't think of any off the top of my head that work with YAML. But I think those are probably good ones to check out. I don't think we have any current plans right now to add those commandlets yet, because I think it's covered by the community there. So thank you, Justin. Yeah, I knew there was one by Jordan. And then the last one, there was a couple of questions around the PowerShell graph module, around the names getting bigger and kind of the difficulty understanding, what the commands are. I've chatted with the graph team, and we're going to be working with them on that kind of feedback. So not too much else to answer there. It's kind of in their wheelhouse, and they have difficulty because they have coverage they have to do for all the different capabilities that they have, and so naming that and building out those commandlet sets can be difficult to cover. So yeah, that covers a lot of them. Apologies if we missed any questions still. I think there was a number of questions we didn't address just because I think we needed maybe a little bit more clarification on what people were asking. So if we missed something and you want your question asked, please feel free to put it in the chat or in a future community call agenda, and we'd be happy to answer it there. So just wanted to take a little time to cover some of the FAQs that we didn't get to at PSConf.eu. So I think we can probably move on, Jason, to whatever's next on the agenda. I don't have it in front of me, so.
Cool. Thanks, Stephen. And a huge shout out and thank you to the organizers, the attendees, and all of the community for PSConf.eu for making us and everyone else feel so welcome and wonderful. So thank you very much. And with that, let's go ahead and go to a docs update from the infamous Sean the Don Wheeler.
Okay, thanks, Jason. Not a whole lot to talk about this month. Our focus has been on maintenance work mostly. We've had supporting the monthly releases, so the 7.5 Preview 3, the updates to 7.4, and so on. There have been minor updates to the release notes for those. As always, there's a running update of what's new in docs each month. The latest addition was this tab expansion 2 article. I'll put links in the chat. Mikey's been continuing to update documentation for DSCV3 through all of the preview releases. Lots going on there. And then I'll toss it over to Mike Robbins. He's got a couple of items he wants to talk about for Azure PowerShell. Mike?
Hey, Mike.
So yeah, I'll go ahead and share my screen. Just got a couple of things I want to highlight this month. So we've updated one of our training modules for automating Azure tasks with Azure PowerShell. It was previously using the code wasn't written very well and it was difficult to maintain. So I basically rewrote it the way that I would write it. And also it was still using ISE, so it's written for VS Code now. Also, this configure Azure PowerShell global settings, it uses the AZ config commandlets, and all the settings, previously it just kind of showed you a brief overview, but every single setting is detailed now. So if you want to configure any of those settings, you can take a look at this article. Thank you.
Oh, hey, Mike, that's great. What else you got, Sean? Is that it?
That's it.
Well, that's cool. Well, thanks, Sean, Mike. And oh, hey, we didn't hear from Mikey Lombardi this time, but thanks to Mikey Lombardi too, who's working his butt off on DSC docs, because that's something else. So, folks, we're starting to get towards the end of our call here, and we're running out of time for demos. But let me open up the floor for questions for a couple of minutes before we end this July community call. So please feel free to post a question in the chat, or if you'd like to come online and ask a question as well. A lot of stuff going on for the summer, so hope everybody is finding things to keep themselves busy.
Hey, Jason, I think there were a
Yeah.
couple questions in the GitHub issue.
Oh, I wasn't even looking at that. Duh. Do you just want, I don't have it up yet, Sydney. Do you just want to?
I can just ask them. I have it up. So the first one was just like, why was the archive repository archived?
Okay, you want me to take that one?
Yeah.
So basically, for folks who aren't aware, there's this whole security focus initiative at Microsoft. And so one of the things that we looked at is all the repos that haven't had a lot of activity, like more than a year. And basically we archived them for now. That doesn't mean, archive doesn't mean that we're not supporting it. Now specifically about the archive module repo being archived, there's no activity happening in that repo. We don't plan to have anything in the near term. There are desires to have a new version of an archive module, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. So that's the reason why we archived it. The repos that you may not even be aware existed under the PowerShell org.
Would it be possible to add a comment in the README stating what the status of the project is? Because archive could mean many different things to different people.
Yes, I don't think that's itself a problem. That's a good point. If there's a specific list of repos that you feel people are concerned about because it's been archived, I'm more than happy to add that in the README.
I think
Just
anything.
put it in the chat. Put it in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
Awesome.
the second one was from Phil wanting to promote or discuss the PowerShell Saturday.
Hey, Phil.
Hey,
Phil, if you want to do a big demo or something next month, I'm happy to, but go ahead and talk about it and tell everybody about PowerShell North Carolina.
no, I just wanted to remind everybody that PowerShell Saturday is coming, and the CFP is still open for people. But last time I briefly spoke about it, didn't really give an explanation of what it was if you weren't familiar with it. So it's going to be an all-day Saturday event and actually an all-day weekend event. We'll have 2 days. We'll have 3 tracks of speakers. We'll have basic panel discussion. We want to have the discussion be primarily about who can participate, and we want topics on cloud. We want topics on what people are working on today. And the premise is that this is a community event for the people today. And so we have the big summit events and PowerShell ConfEU that are fairly large events. This is the event for the people effectively, as I call it. And anybody can attend that event. It will happen in Raleigh, North Carolina at the end of October. And so set your calendars, mark your calendars. It's definitely a great event. But also we want to get engaged with the community, and we want to have those who are feel that they have things to offer, and I think everybody does certainly have things to offer. And you kind of talked about it earlier about engaging with the community overall. And I want to even shout out to user groups as a whole. And so this event is organized by the Research Triangle PowerShell user group, and that group meets still twice a month. And Doug's doing a great job with his user group, and there's a European group that's still meeting. And so my last little comment is that, hey, there's this other event, but also, the user groups are still there and they still run effectively. And if you want to participate in the user groups, reach out to us and we're here for you. And, we are the community and we want to be that community. So thanks for your time.
That's awesome, Phil. Thank you. And Sean, thank you for dropping in the links for PowerShell Saturday and how to become a speaker. So if you'd like those links, go ahead and check it out. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are at time for the July community call. I want to thank everyone for attending and sharing and contributing. And we hope you have a wonderful month during this summer. We'll see you next month. Be safe and help someone. Cheers.